I'm excited to welcome Gina Reinecke today. She has a background that is near and dear to my heart, coming from the nutrition field myself in my past life. Gina is a nutrition and lifestyle coach, as well as a certified holy yoga instructor. She comes to us from California today, although she's originally from Australia. That will become, I think, very nicely apparent once we have a conversation with her. She received her exercise science degree in Australia, married her American husband, and then spent 15 years as a personal trainer and transitioned for about the past dozen years or so into health coaching with Optavia. So she is totally enjoying helping people put the pieces together to create a healthy life and absolutely loves helping them transform their lives. So I'm excited to have Gina join us today so that we can help our listeners at least start to think about ways to transform their life. Welcome, Gina. Thanks for being with me today.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really honored to be a guest.
You know, it's interesting in talking with folks from all walks of life to hear how they got to where they are. So many times we seem to ebb and flow through different experiences or even different professions or jobs in life before we land where we think we're connected with our primary passion. But it looks like, at least from a education and training standpoint, you've always been in the exercise focused side of the industry.
I have. I grew up in a family that was very athletically minded, so was always into sports and stuff like that. But even in my exercise science degree, I was really interested in the mental and emotional piece of how people create health in their life and how they get better from injury and sickness. So that was a very big part of my studies, was kind of the whole person. It's like, we're not just a body, we're not just a mind, we're not just a spirit, but how do those things kind of interact as we go through our life, seeking and creating health.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned you grew up in an athletic family. So was that boys and girls, just out of curiosity?
Oh, I was the only girl.
I wondered about that.
I had two older brothers, so my goal in life was to keep up with the boys.
Not a bad thing sometimes, yes?
Yes.
Well, you know, I think a lot of times in so many different areas of our life, our childhood definitely shapes and creates somewhat of what we've experienced and who we become. But the exercise piece is such a crucial part of a healthy lifestyle that a lot of times people don't grow up with that. So even if they haven't, do you find folks needing to understand why that exercise is so important, maybe a little bit harder if they haven't really experienced it themselves from childhood?
Yeah, there's actually really two sides to the coin there, because you have a lot of people who have this kind of, if I'm going to be healthy, I've got to be this hardcore athlete. Like, I've got to be out doing triathlons, and I've got to be a bikini model, and I've got to run a marathon. Like, that's what it's going to take to be healthy. And then you have the other side of the coin where people haven't really learned to enjoy movement at all. And so there's two extremes. And what I've found in my journey is coming to a center, like a more moderate standpoint of knowing that exercise is a piece of the story, and it's an important piece, but a much bigger piece of the story is nutrition, lifestyle, sleep, stress management, all of that. And in my journey, I grew up watching my dad be this hardcore runner. Like, he ran, he didn't jog, he ran every day. And so in my mind, I thought, well, if I want to be healthy and fit, I've got to be a runner. And my body is not designed for running. And so I would get really motivated. I would try to be a runner for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then the joints would start hurting, my hips and knees and feet. And then I go into like this spiral, like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to be healthy and fit as an adult because I can't be a runner. So I personally had to come to a place where I realized it's just about movement. And so I could run once a week max without my joints screaming at me. And I could do yoga, and I could go to the gym, and I could play tennis, and I could do all these different things. And that was just as good as being a runner, because it's more about getting the blood flowing, getting my body moving, using my muscles. So I had to kind of break that athlete mentality of I have to be a thing and really come to a place where, okay, as long as I'm moving my body every day, there's lots of ways I can do that. Some things are more fun than others. I may as well just do the things that I think are fun because I'm more likely to do them, you know, and that don't hurt. So that was a big part of my my own transformation.
That is so true. And I'll bet with your health coaching, sometimes that's an initial revelation for people to get out of the mindset. Like you said, in our country especially, it seems like it's one extreme or another. You have to be the all out. I mean, look what we are, it seems like, encouraged to do with our children from young on. If you want them to be competitive, they got to start their sport, you know, at 3 years old. Yeah. And so we have that mindset of the proper exercises, or the ones you should be doing, versus, like you're saying, what do you enjoy doing for purposes of blood flow?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I have, as I said, there's the extremes. So I'll have clients who, in their mind, they're still a high school football player. But they're 60 years old and 90 pounds overweight, you know. And so they have this mentality, I just got to get out and I've got to do the things that a football player does to get healthy. And breaking that can sometimes be a challenge. And then giving people permission. I have one client right now. She's hilarious. I just love her. And she has never been, you know, she would say, I've never been good at exercise. And I'm like, it doesn't matter what you do, just do something. So she's found these 20-minute belly dancing videos that she does on her lunch break. And awesome. she laughs, and she's like, it's so hilarious, but boy, my muscles are hurting and this and that and the other thing. So giving people permission, just try something, just get moving. And the more you do, the more you'll do. And really the point is not that you go exercise for an hour or two every day. You know, for most people, 20 or 30 minutes of getting your heart rate up in the course of the day is a really good place to be.
So it's starting with, it sounds like, identifying what you enjoy or what you used to enjoy, and then starting it is really the biggest hurdle, I would assume, and getting that super athlete image out of your head, whether we're just coming from surgery or an illness, or we've been athletic before or we've not been athletic before. Is it the mindset that's really the place that we need to start?
Absolutely. I mean, in your background, mind, money, emotion. I have a dear friend who's a physical therapist, and she said for people with an athletic background, her biggest challenge is to help them view their movement as rehab rather than a workout. Because if they're viewing it as rehab, they're much kinder to themselves. They're much more likely to do it. Versus if they're viewing it as I've got to go work out, then there's all this frustration and shame and disappointment, and I'm not doing what I used to do. And I know in my own journey, you know, I've had multiple, you know, I had a couple of babies, I've had a couple of surgeries along the way, I've had multiple injuries along the way. And the biggest thing is, okay, you know, I can get up and I can walk across the room today. And tomorrow I might be able to walk out to the front of my driveway. And then the next day I may be able to have my husband take me to the end of the street and back. And breaking away from I'm not working out, oh my goodness, to I'm just going to move my body today. And maybe I'll do a little bit more tomorrow. Maybe I won't. But I'm just going to move a little bit. And that's the only way I've been able to stay engaged through giving birth and, having surgeries and injuries and all of that. And just knowing your body is so adaptable. And if you can really honor it and just say, wow, look at how far it has brought me to this point, and trusting that, I'm going to put my shoes on and I'm going to go for a little walk. And tomorrow I might be a little bit stronger or not, but I'm going to do it again. And these things, it's the compound effect. Everything in life is the compound effect of the little things we do every day is what's going to make the biggest difference.
Very, very true. The rehab approach, that's really curious and very interesting, because like you said, then you avoid over pushing, and that's kind of a vicious cycle. We over push, we're sore longer. Because we're sore longer, we rationalize and talk ourselves out of doing it again, and then pretty soon we're not doing anything. But the rehab and the blood flow,
yes,
is really very, very wise. So so much of this, and we started with this too, is the brain. And I used to say the brain is one of our strongest muscles. And yet I think the brain has the potential for being the most impactful muscle, is how I've kind of reframed that, because it starts with the brain. And then we're talking about exercise, making sure there's blood flow going through the brain. And then breathing brings oxygen to the brain, which makes me think that's maybe how you also segued into your holy yoga, is the breathing side of this whole body we have.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things you said there. I was kind of a sporadic worker outer.
Okay, we can all relate to that.
And then when I began to read about the impact of exercise on the brain and on your emotional health and mental health, like the biggest thing you can do for your mental and emotional health, for anxiety, depression, Alzheimer's, dementia, all of the things that make us, shake in fear, is to take a walk. You read the studies and it's like, oh my goodness, that's more effective a lot of the time than a lot of medications. And so I always tell my clients, the day I realized that my mood and my emotional state was just so much better if I got out and moved my body, was the day it became a non-negotiable. Because up to that point, it was like this nebulous thing of like, I don't want to be fat, or I need to be this, or I need to be that. But when it really hit home that it affected my patience with my husband and my kids, it affected my ability to focus on the things that were important to me, all of that, then it didn't even become about the exercise anymore. It became about, what kind of mood do I want to be in today? And then and then it's like, I would, I'm fortunate that my husband and I, we share in this lifestyle together and we support each other that way. But there are days where I have to ask him, I'm like, would you please tell me how much better I'm going to feel after I do this? Because I really don't want to do this. And the truth is, I always feel so much better after I do this, whatever this is. So I think that's
that's part of the whole accountability side of things, right? I was reading the other day that when you have an accountability partner, usually somebody from the outside, it was like a crazy 500% increase in success at whatever it is you're working on.
Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah.
Well, and that's the joy of being a health coach, right? Because I get to be that for people, and for the first time in their life, they're actually succeeding in an area where it's just been a constant struggle and a constant source of shame and disappointment and frustration and all of those things. But back to your thing about the yoga, I think for me, coming from that athletic background, I actually used working out hard as a way to kind of process my stress. And then it's not like I was working out for hours and hours every day, but when I was working out, it was like, and then I ended up getting a lot of injuries. And then I don't know if your viewers are believers, but it was like the Lord was saying, you got to stop, and I realized that in processing my stress through that really angsty kind of energy in my workouts, I was actually imprinting the stress in and on my body. And so then I moved into experimenting with yoga. And to be honest, when I first did it, I couldn't stand it. Like, this is too slow. Being someone who's used to like pushing hard and all of that, it was like, this is too slow and I have to stay still. And this is driving me crazy. But realizing, wow, the breathing and that whole action of getting your mind and your body and your breath linked together in the present moment was just so powerful and so therapeutic for me personally. And again, go read about the impact of yoga. And it doesn't matter what kind you do. It doesn't matter if you do the full intense, hardcore, whatever, or the very gentle, whatever. All of the science is showing that it has such a huge impact on your mental and physical and emotional health just by getting that breath moving, learning how to do it properly. And I could go on a way big rabbit trail there. I'll stop there. I'll let you.
Everything you're saying, whether we're talking about yoga or the exercise piece or the nutrition piece, it brings it all back to the blood flow and the oxygen, feeding the body and the brain for overall better health.
Yeah.
And so I loved when you said, because I've heard this and I think people think it sounds too simple, even just starting with walking. And what does walking do? It's forced deep breathing if you walk at a good enough clip, and it's forced blood flow. So what a great way to start. But I know even if someone is just thinking, okay, well, I'll start with walking, or I'm going to try yoga, or whatever their enjoyment, I'm going to dance or belly dance, like your client example. Good intentions are different than actions. How do you help when you're coaching folks with the motivation piece? Because there's got to be some tricks, for lack of a better word, that we can try to get our brain to, once we're out of bed, what are we doing there so it actually happens?
I think the biggest thing is knowing yourself, like being honest about your excuses. So one thing for me, I know that by the time Thursday rolls around, I'm pretty tired. Like, it's been, I don't know, Thursday's like, okay, we're almost to Friday. And so if I don't have someone to meet with on a Friday morning to go work out, I go for a walk, then I'm probably not going to do it. So I'm honest about that. And I have a standing walking appointment with my friends, and it's more about connecting with my friends than it is about the walk. But surprise, surprise, we actually walk, So attaching it to things that you do want to do. Like, I remember when my kids were little, my ideal exercise is not to go sit on an exercise bike at the gym. But that's what worked during a certain season of my life. So I that was the time I could read my book. And so I would really look forward to it because I was going to read my book and not because I was going to sit and stare at a wall and pedal my legs, you know.
Right.
So trying to attach it to something that you really do enjoy, people, you know, maybe more about getting outside and listening to the birds and looking at the flowers than it is about the walk. But, you know, to experience those things, you will do it. I personally find that I need to make it like an appointment. I literally look at my calendar. I talk with my husband because we do a lot of stuff together throughout the week. So we make appointments. This is the time. This is the place. I will be on my bike at 7 a.m. on Tuesday and Thursday morning or whatever.
Yeah.
And just start small. You know, don't worry about your ideas of what a workout looks like. Maybe you actually just begin with moving more. We call it non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So, you know, the first step for a lot of people is, can you just make more trips up and down the stairs in your house? Because those activities, you know, carrying stuff, sweeping the porch, washing things by hand, standing on one foot while you brush your teeth, movement and activity in the course of your flow of your day is actually going to burn way more calories than a formal 30 or 60-minute workout. So give yourself permission to start with, how can I stand more? How can I move more? How can I do more things manually?
Love it, love it, love it. So always start with something that is tied to something you enjoy doing. If it's not the real reason you're going for the walk, whatever it is, and making an appointment on the calendar so you see it, remember it, it's scheduled, you've carved the time. I know myself, I prefer mornings just so I don't rationalize myself out of it later in the day.
Yes, that's me too.
And starting small, you know, one little habit I needed to start with was roll out of bed and put my yoga clothes on. You're not going to do yoga if you have your yoga clothes on. Same thing with tennis shoes or whatever it is you wear for your attire. So thank you. Those are all good tips and strategies. Gina, I know that you have several things online that would be great resources for our listeners, and even an opportunity to learn a little bit more about your health coaching coming up. So if we can be sure we're sharing that, I know we'll have the details of it in the show notes, but best ways to reach you and things that you think would be really good for the listeners to check out a little bit further.
Yeah, so the best way to reach me is actually to by phone or email. My number will be in the show notes, but it's 951-816-7278, and it's Gina Reinecke @gmail.com. I do have a online yoga portal, I guess you call it, like a library of classes that you can have access to with a subscription, and it's bit.ly/move with Gina. And then I teach live classes on Zoom every week. And I think probably easiest way is just to reach out to me directly to get that information. And then I am looking for coaching partners. So as I've learned over the years, the things that work for me and my family, and I found the Optavia program that really aligned with my philosophy, I'm looking for others who might want to join in with helping their friends and family get healthy using this program. So I'll be doing a webinar on Saturday, March the 13th at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and we'll have the information in the link for that too.
Awesome. We have so much to share, and I think you've given us some really practical tips that, you know, that's what we all need, is just cut to the chase and tell me what to do today, tomorrow, in real life. So thank you very much for that, Gina. And we'll look forward to learning more from all that you're offering online.
Thank you very much.